Good morning, everybody, in Shefa Brucha Vatzlucha. Today we'll have a short shiur. I'm just this morning came back from Portugal. Had a very exciting, let's say, holiday, going in the ways of the merchants or the anusim in Portugal. Unbelievable story. But before this, we'll talk a little on the parashat and we see how it's connected also to the anusim in Portugal. One of the interesting things is that we see an unbelievable point that the tribe from Reuben and Gad want to stay in the other side of the Jordan. They don't want to go into Eretz Yisrael. And of course Moshe Rabbeinu gets angry and says, Tarbut Anashim Ra, what's going on here? What, you're doing the same thing as your ancestor did 40 years ago? Didn't want to go into Eretz Yisrael? You're doing the same thing? And there is a small chance. It's not the same exactly. It's not the same. There is a big difference between what happened 40 years ago and now. Because then the argument was they didn't want to go into Eretz Yisrael in order to have normal physical life, to work and bring parnasa. They were living in the desert from bread from heaven, water from the well of Miriam, and everything was 100% pure. And they only were in, let's say, a spiritual world, and then they had to go into a physical world, where they didn't want to go. But the argument now is unbelievable. We're talking here about not going into Eretz Yisrael because of money, because of property, because of the cattle. They had a lot of cattle. And nevertheless, when they say we want to build a place for our cattle, and then they're talking about homes for the children and the women. And Moshe told them, what, you are crazy? What, you put the money before life? Unbelievable. Then they realize that this is a mistake what they did, and then they said, okay, yeah, you're right, you understand right. We're going to build homes for our children and wives, and women, and then we will build a house for the cattle, etc. But years later, they have this problem of putting the money before life. You know, in Kriyat Shema we say, "Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha b'chol modecha." I said, "B'chol levavcha," with all your heart, is yetzer hara and yetzer hatov, bad inclination, good inclination. Kol nafshecha, with your whole soul. Even if somebody takes your soul, takes your neshama, you're still going to work for worship God. It doesn't matter what they're going to do to you. And what is b'chol modecha? And one of the explanations is b'chol modecha b'chol mamoncha, with all the money you've got. What does it mean? What are people that prefer money on life? That money for them is higher than life? Because we said already, even if they take your life, you're still going to worship God. And we said, regarding worshiping God with Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Hatov, B'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol modecha. Modecha is like a different level. So people prefer their money on life? It sounds ridiculous. But if you think about it, unfortunately, that's the way it is. Years ago, in Ranana, not far away from my house, there was this diamond dealer who came home in the evening, and two robbers waited for him, disguised with masks on their faces, and they threatened him with a gun, and he fought with them. Instead of giving them the diamonds, he fought with them, and they killed him and took the diamond. So here we see. And talking about the spiritual world, how many times we are willing to do for parnasa much more than for the spiritual world. For example, it's mincha, but you have to close a deal. What are you going to do? Are you going to close the deal and miss mincha, or are you going to mincha and miss the deal? It's a hard question, I know. It's not. I'm not trying to say anything, but that's what it is. That's what's the meaning of b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol modecha. Yes. Unfortunately, it's not only the spiritual way, as we said, it's also in the physical way. And all over the world we see those things. The Tampan people, instead of giving the money and doing what they have to do, they prefer to fight and kill and be killed than to give them money. When Moshe Rabbeinu realizes what they want to do, Shevet Reuven and Shevet Gad, he put with them half of Shevet Menashe. Why? Why do we need the half of Shevet Menashe to live in Ever Yarden with the two tribes? They didn't want to live there. They wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael. Because Moshe Rabbeinu understood that if it's going to be no connection between Eretz Yisrael from this side, and the other side, it's going to be disconnected, and unfortunately, who knows, maybe they will mingle among the goyim, and they will lose everything. So how do you do it? How you make sure that there is a connection between Ever Hayarden, this side of the Jordan, and the other side of the Jordan? He says, you know what? I'm putting a half tribe of Menashe at that side, so the tribe, they have relations, they have family in the other side, so they're going to travel here backwards and forwards, so there's going to be a connection between the two sides of the Jordan through the half of the Shevet Menashe in this side and the half of the Shevet Menashe in the other side. So when we see this, we understand how clever Moshe Rabbeinu was thinking about an idea like this. And then when we want to put it in our life today, when I went to Portugal, understand and realize what the Anusim, those who were forced to convert themselves to be Christians by the Spanish Inquisition or the Portuguese Inquisition, and they, from outside they were going, and inside they kept Judaism, kept being Jewish. Imagine to yourself life like this. And they, through the years, they lost the connection with Am Israel, and they become Christians. Some say that around 60% in Portugal that are from descendants of the Anusim in the medieval times. It's unbelievable to see all the things today. And you go through around, for example, we went to Porto, which used to be the capital city of Portugal, and there you have a new shul that they built years ago by the family of Kaduri, a very generous family, very rich family. They also built a shul in Hong Kong, a synagogue, and they built there a shul, and there was a choir there waiting for us when we came there, and somebody opened the shul for us. They were doing, they were rehearsing for Shabbos, and they prepared something. They knew that we come, and they prepared for us also a song. They were singing among the songs that they sang Atikva. It was so touching to sit in a place where those people that were singing to us, the Chazanim that were singing to us, this choir, they were from the descendants of the Anusim from Portugal, keeping Judaism for more than 500 years. Unbelievable. One of the places that it was really, they kept themselves as Jews was, what was the name? I don't want to make a mistake. Belmonte. Belmonte is a place, a village, that they were keeping their Judaism secretly till today. It's unbelievable. We met a guy that is one of the descendants of the people that lived in this village. There is a very small community still there. Most of them left to Eretz Israel, and they were outside behaving like Christian. And you have to understand, this is only a few years ago, in this century, that they still were afraid of discovering that they are Jews. That's to show people that they are Jewish. For example, one of the amazing things is a mezuzah. They cannot put a mezuzah on the houses, so what do? Today they have mezuzahs, unbelievable. And they have also there shul, beautiful shul. And suddenly this guy is taking his box, he's taking his hand into a pocket, and he takes a small box, says that's a mezuzah. They keep the mezuzah in the pocket, so nobody sees it. So when they go out from the house, they put their hand in the pocket and touch the mezuzah that they've got in the pocket. And yeah, when they used to go into church, they used to knock 3 times and say something against Jesus, like that they believe in one God, don't believe in the piece of wood that they believe in church. And I don't remember what was the third thing, but you see the things in a small museum he did there. All the things that he got from his family were hiding the Chanukiah in the wall, keeping Pesach on a different day so people wouldn't know what they're doing, Shabbos at a different day. It's unbelievable. And they told us everywhere we came that they used to have a special prayer when they went out for Parnosa in the morning. When the father went out to deal and real and to bring Parnosa, they used to pray, have a special prayer that God will help them, like Tfilat HaDerech we have, like that God will help them and save them from all the problems that are waiting for them outside. And some of them didn't come back because There were a lot of people that were telling and looking who is Jewish, who keeps the mitzvahs, and if they discovered somebody who's keeping the mitzvahs, they just tell the Inquisition, and they took them out and burned them alive in the center of town. In one of the places, I think in Porto, it was on the house of the Inquisition, where they used to keep the prisoners, the Jews, before they burned them in the middle of town. There was a sign about what they did there. Today, it's all everywhere. It's written that they murdered and killed and tortured the Jews in this place. And standing there in the middle of the street, we said Yizkor and Kaddish, and we sang Ani Ma'amin. When people around us are stopping and looking at this group of Jews, proud that we are here, that nobody will ever, never, ever destroy Am Yisrael. We are alive and we are here in the place where they murdered our brothers. Suddenly we meet a guy and he says, you know, I used to be Jewish, I'm from here. He came from Brazil and his ancestors were from the Anusim, mortals, or they would say, they call them, from Portugal. And you see from the names, they're Ferreira, the guy told us that their names, they are Jewish names. They used fruits as name, and then you knew that the guy is Jewish. So you meet a lot of people that have Jewish names, that origin are from becoming Jew, but unfortunately, through the generation, keeping from outside Christianity and inside Judaism, slowly but surely, they were mingled among the Goyim, and unfortunately, most of them vanished. They are not a part of us anymore. But still, you see this unbelievable tradition going from generation to generation in order to keep the light, the flame of Judaism. It's like in one of the places, a lady was singing a song that her mother used to sing to her when she went to bed. And you know what the song was? Shema Yisrael Ado Elo, in Portuguese and in Hebrew. It's unbelievable. You see it everywhere. And in the last day also, we been in Lisbon, which is the capital of Portugal. And then there in the center, they also did the same. Were burning Jews, that they discovered that they are not really Christians, because from inside they keep the mitzvahs. And also killed those who didn't want to convert to become Christians. And then they have a big Magen David, and there is written that they were people here tortured and burned because the only reason because they were Jewish. And around is written Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and a few other psukim. And there also we said Kaddish and we sang Hatikva. That Baruch Hashem, today we are privileged to have a state that we came back to Eretz Yisrael. We're privileged to be proud and keep the mitzvahs outside with no worry about anything. Thinking about those who wanted to be Jewish, kept it in secret, knowing that when somebody will discover that they're keeping the mitzvah secretly, they are going to be killed. And killed in the worst way you can think. To be burned in front of all the town, in the middle, in the center of town. This is only a touch, a small touch, about unbelievable things we saw there in Portugal. And this is exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu thought then. I need to have a connection. If they don't live with us here in Eretz Israel, the other side, even though it's quite close, we still need to have a bridge that's going to connect. That's why today there are more and more Portuguese coming back to Portugal in order to keep the flame. There are even new communities coming up, even from other people, not from Portugal, that coming there to make this string and to connect those who lost the way to Am Yisrael again. That's how important it is to keep the contact. between all the people of Am Israel, all around the world, to have a bridge. And there's so many stories. And this connected me to the parashat, because never ever something happens to you that week that you cannot connect to the parashat. It's always a connection. That's the way that God talked with us. So what is God trying to tell us? You saw how Jews kept secretly their belief, the emunah. How they struggled to give it to the next generation. That till today there are a few that don't even know what they say, but they say it. They have certain minhagim, tradition, they don't even know what it means. So this is our job, to help. We don't have to go to Portugal to do it. It's here and everywhere. When we see people that are far away, try to connect with them, try to help them to understand. And remember how privileged we are, that we don't need to hide our belief. We can show everybody we believe in God, the one and the only one. And nobody will never ever succeed to destroy Am Israel. Am Israel chai v'kayam. All the best to everybody.